So I think I was about 10 or 11 years old, and I actually grew up, even though I'm from Michigan, born and raised in Michigan. I kind of grew up in Virginia, and my neighbors lived down a one-way street. I'd never met them before, but they had this go-kart on the back of this trailer, and it pulled down a one-way street. And I'm like, well, I'm not that lazy to where I can't go figure that out. So I jumped on my bike and I rode down the street, and I befriended this kid like right away. His name is Willie Arrington family. They were the nicest people ever. So it was like a perfect example of getting involved in racing. And they were like, I said, hey, can I drive that? Like, can we just like get it out? And he goes, actually, no, this is a racing cart. So it won't go in the yard. Like it's too low. You can't take it in the street. So I was like, okay. I was really bummed out. And I told my dad, and we both went down there and found out where they were gonna be and went and visited and went for a couple weekends and became race fans. And then I'd always watched NASCAR in IMSA, Trans Am, you know, watching Irv Hare and Darren Brassfield and all these guys race. And started go-kart racing. And I remember the first time it was dirt oval racing, which is not what I do now, but I remember the first time I came in and my dad said I had this huge grin on my face. And I was like, this is all I'm ever gonna do from now on. And I was 11. So, hey, that's kind of what I'm doing. So that's pretty cool. So 2022 brings me back. I only ran one race here in a GT4 car. Actually, one race in a GT4. I was filling in for a friend of mine who was injured. Teamed up with Eric Foss with Murillo Racing. My first experience with the team, but Eric and I go way back. We've been friends a long time. We've worked together in the past. But the track's a little bit different this year. Oh yeah, we won. So that was great. We had I qualified well, and we ran in the top two most of the race, and had a great pit stop. Zoom, 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 fast forward, won the race. It was a really great experience. This year, the track's a little bit different because they did some paving, so it's a little smoother, but it's still Mosport. It's still a little low grip in sections, really high speed entries. You gotta have a lot of faith to be fast here. You gotta faith in the car, faith in yourself, and sometimes it bites you, but if you don't put it all out there, you're gonna go slow. And that's just the way this track is. It's the way it's always been. It's a little easier nowadays because there's runoff now in turn 2 and runoff in turn 1. A little bit wider runoff in 3. 4 has a little pavement on the exit. It's like a little bit everywhere. It's a little safer. But back when I started racing here, when you went off somewhere, it was just moments before you went into the tire barrier and you were done. So it's a little easier to be confident in yourself now than it used to be. But the same feeling of the track surface is still there. So it's a great track to come to. Super confidence rewarding. So if you believe in yourself, sometimes too much is even better. So I like this track. I've already said this many a time. I've raced a lot of different types of cars, and the best GT4 car I've ever driven is the AMG GT4. It's the easiest to drive. It's easiest to get comfortable and up to speed. And even though here it can be a little tricky, the setup has to be right. Usually the setup window in this car is pretty big. And that means that you can kind of really work back and forth a little bit. Some cars, the window is really narrow, so you make a small change and you're just out of the ballpark as far as where you need to be. But this car has been really, really fun. Confidence inspiring, which is really important here. But it's a really good car to drive. And no other car I've ever driven stays as cool in the cockpit as this car. It's like, I feel like after an hour, you'd be like, we could have done another hour, no problem. So I really enjoy it. Michael, we kind of threw at the wolves for Detroit because, I mean, it was a brand new circuit. He's never driven the GT4 AMG before. I mean, it's like new. And the kid delivered. I mean, he just is good. I've known Michael for years, and at Detroit in 2020, we were in Detroit, and I was racing in the GTD category, and we were walking down pit lane, and we were talking about Canadian go-kart racing and Canadian Formula Ford racing and stuff that we've done similarly. And like friends that we share connections with. And the one thing that we talked about was, you know, it'd be really cool if at some point we can put something together to where we're driving together here at this race. And yeah, like 3 years later, there we are. So we were sitting on the grid talking about it. But coming to Mosport, coming to, you know, CTMP, this is like his home track. It's kind of like my home track because I started my pro racing up here. And I don't know, like the pace is great for both of us. We're in the fight, and it feels like it's putting on an old shoe. Even though it's a new car with a lot of really cool bling and, you know, it's a fresh team and everything, but, you know, we're oddly comfortable. And sharing the car with them is great. We're in the same seat insert. We like the same type of things in the car. And some of the smartest people I know from racing said, you know, it's good to have fast teammates, it's good to have great engineers, it's good to have a great budget and stuff, but you should be around nice people, you should be around good people, and that's way more important, because when you have that, good things happen. And he's a nice guy, he's fast, and we get along great, and it's like no drama. And I'm not into the drama, so it's good.